Hi there. My name's John Sweeney, and I'm the Director of Stewardship Development and Discipleship Ministries here at Vestavia Methodist. And welcome to the 4th episode of our Discipleship Pathway Next Steps video series and sermon series. Today, we're going to wrap up the entire concept of our discipleship pathway when we look at the idea of returning to lead, looking at the fruit and the nourishment that comes from this pathway. The Great Commission found in the Gospel of Matthew. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations. That's the underpinning for this final step in the discipleship pathway. It returns us back to the beginning of the pathway, where we can engage and encourage and lead others in those discovery and engagement phases. I welcome you to this episode and thank you for participating in this series and being an active participant in the discipleship ministries of Vestavia Methodist.
Well, Bill, today we're looking at a slightly different part of the pathway. We've been looking at the different steps where we begin and discover and then engage and then transform. But there are some pieces of culture, there's some kind of actions that really all of us who are part of the church are going to need to participate in if the pathway is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so the two behaviors that we really want to encourage, that we all really pray about how we can do well, are inviting people and then choosing to lead. And so the first one is to invite people. So what is the number one way that people choose to, or why do people choose to attend a particular church?
Oh, well, everything tells us. All surveys have told us, but also history tells us. The way people have gotten into involved in a church or gotten engaged in a church, well, it's because someone's invited them to come.
Yeah.
It's in the past, there may be billboards people would put up on the side of the road or something like that. They were nice, but it was because a neighbor told a neighbor where they went to church. We do social media. And we try to reach out and share what's going on in the life of the church with our community. But it's amazing when you hear people that have come into the church and you ask, well, how did you hear about what was going on, or when they attend an event? It's not because it's just because we advertised it through social media or we shared it on social media. It was because a friend of theirs shared it on their social media and said, "This is my church. Y'all should come to this." And they did. And like I said, this is what history has shown us, all the way back to the disciples who were told to go and make more disciples. And so it's sort of how we've been doing it. There was an old commercial on television that simply said, "She told two friends and she told two friends," and so on and so forth. Well, that's really sort of the method of how the church has grown over time, is each person telling their friend, "Come and see." Just like Prevenient Grace acting, you're an agent of Prevenient Grace when, like Jesus told the disciples, you tell your friends, "Come and see what God is doing in our church. Come and see this event, this activity. Come and see and pack a meal for Rise Against Hunger. Come and see." And who knows what God will do in their life when we are willing to say, "Come and see."
Absolutely. It's funny. Some of us are better at it than others, but it really doesn't get us off the hook. The ones of us who are a little bit more shy about things,
right?
We're called to make disciples. We're called to invite people, and so part of the pathway was designed so that we can have easy opportunities to invite people. Mm-hmm. So something like Rise Against Hunger is something that literally thousands of people come to.
Right.
It is a first step onto the lawn of the church, but also potentially into into a deeper relationship with God. And so if we tell a friend, come with me, you'll love this. This has a lot of energy. It's a lot of fun. You're helping people around the world. It's an easy way to invite someone to take a step onto the pathway. Another one would be with small groups. I took this small group. It was really helpful. Alpha is kind of designed is one of the small groups that we have. It's designed for people to ask questions about faith who may have no history in faith. They may not even know they don't know what questions to ask.
Right.
But they're curious. And so to invite a friend to let's take Alpha together, that is a way that we've tried to design to get people to find their first step onto the disciples' pathway.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many opportunities when you know someone who's experienced loss. Well, I mean, to be able to reach out to them and say, not just letting them know that you're praying for them, which you are. I hope that you're praying for them in this time, but also then to say, our church is about to start grief support. This will be an opportunity for you to come and to be with others who are walking that same road you're on right now, and to be mentored by those who they've walked that path before you, and they can help you navigate these days and months and years ahead. And so, I mean, that's a great opportunity. Sure. And when you see someone that we're offering small groups that are related around marriage and parenting, and when we know what our friends are going through.
Yeah.
And so, again, not just letting them know that we're praying for them, but to be able to offer them hope, a deep hope of, come and experience this. And maybe they become a part of our church. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just simply need that small group. And with some of our hybrid models, it may be somebody that across the country or around the world that has the opportunity to engage with a small group here that will help them on their disciples' path.
Sure. And sometimes we have friends or family who are at a stage in life where something has changed. They don't have a real sense of what they need to do. And there are so many opportunities in the church to volunteer, and we have a way through our website to find that and to discover some opportunities for volunteering in the church or in the community to help them sort of find some new opportunities in their life. But we have to invite people to do that.
Right.
And so we have tried to create a process where that invitation is as easy as possible, but it's up to every single one of us to be an invitational person.
Years ago, I was serving a church, and I mentioned that we really need to, all of us need to invite our neighbors to come to church, and invite our friends and our family to come to church. And I was in a meeting with a group of folks when I said that, and I was quickly told by some of the members of the church that everyone in their neighborhood already went to church. And I was surprised because I lived in their neighborhood. Now, granted, I did go to church, but I lived in their neighborhood. And I said, I'm not going to say that you're wrong about everyone in our neighborhood going to church. I'm just going to say that every weekend, without fail, while we are in church, a miracle occurs in our neighborhood because grass gets shorter while we're in church.
It ungrows itself.
It ungrows. In certain people's yards, the grass ungrows. And I said, either it's a miracle or they're not going to church and they're doing lawn care on Sunday morning. I said, I really think that there are more people than we want to admit that aren't going to church. And when I had that conversation, well, now that's probably close to 20 years ago. And everything tells us that there's a lot of people around us that don't attend church, don't have this experience of a life being transformed by our God. And so we probably all know quite a few folks that we could easily fulfill the call that's on us to go make disciples. We could easily fulfill that through simple means of invitation
To something that they're probably going to be interested in.
to something they're going to be interested, to something that they need, whether they know they need it or not. Remember prevenient grace.
Right.
We don't really know what we need, but God's already working, and we can be a part of what God's doing just simply by offering an invitation.
Now, I said there are two kind of behaviors that we have to work on. And the other one is that it's really easy I say easy, it's fun to be transformed and to grow. And it's always nice when somebody else is in charge of that. And, one of the hardest things to do is to want to lead or want to teach. Because I think, first of all, none of us feel like we're good enough for that. You and I both work with new people who are new in ministry, going into the pastorate, and really one of the key personality ingredients that I kind of look for is someone who says, "I don't feel good enough. I don't think I know enough to be a pastor."
Right.
Is the ones who think they do that kind of scare us. So no
Makes me
one's
nervous.
Yeah, exactly. No one's really qualified, and so there comes a moment where we need to start new small groups, where we're wanting to have people who have experienced that particular small group lead one because they're going to be able to teach it well. And so that invitation may come to lead. Now, the temptation is going to be to say, well, I don't have time. I'm not good enough at this. I've never taught before. And we get that. Yeah. So we're trying everything we can to team teach with someone who is helping lead or pairing people up. But at the same time, I think we need to know that if we're going to keep growing, if we're going to start more new small groups, they don't lead themselves. And so what we've got to do as people engaged in becoming more like Christ is accept the fact that at some point I need to not just be fed, but I need to help start feeding and helping and leading others in the pathway of discipleship.
Right. Yeah. There's when you think about your own life of faith, and you think about the classes that you've been in, the small groups you've been a part of, the mission opportunities that you have experienced, and you know how much it transformed your life. Mm-hmm. What a blessing and what a gift you give somebody else when you provide them that opportunity.
Absolutely.
When you're the one that helps to work with the staff to plan the mission trip and put together the trip, and you're going, and it's wonderful for you, but there's that person who on that trip, their life is completely turned upside down by God. And it wouldn't have happened had you not stepped up. And so what a gift that you get to do. And it's one of the most amazing ways that you partner with God in working this act of grace out in people's lives when you step up and say, okay, well, I don't know everything. I'm probably going to blow this occasionally, but I'm willing to say yes, and I'm willing to do what I need to do in order for other people to experience God the way I have, or even at a deeper level than I have.
And there's really another component to this that goes without saying, and yet it needs to be said, in that none of this is possible without us praying. And to be a church, the churches that grow in our world, in our community, are ones that have people who prayerfully engage with God and thought and how they can help change their church and how they can guide their church and ask God to guide in ways that they never knew. And so in a lot of ways, the whole process, the whole culture is surrounded by prayer, and it calls for each of us to engage in that prayer ministry as well.
Right.
And so as we move forward with the discipleship pathway, we're going to be encouraging people. We need you to invite. We need you to become a leader, but probably most of all, we need you to pray that God would do something that we simply can't do ourselves.
Right. Absolutely.